It was a cold autumn night, and the small town of Greyburn was blanketed in mist. The town had an unspoken rule: no one ventured into the nearby woods after dark. The trees, ancient and towering, were said to hold secrets, their branches curling like claws. Legend had it that once someone entered those woods at night, they wouldn't come out the same, if they ever came out at all. One evening, Claire, a curious teenager, dared to test the town's superstition. She had heard the stories her whole life, but she didn't believe in them. Armed with just a flashlight and her phone, she walked into the woods, determined to prove there was nothing to fear. At first, it was just like any other forest: the soft crunch of leaves underfoot, the occasional rustling of branches in the wind. But as Claire ventured deeper, the air seemed to thicken, growing colder. The mist swirled around her, and the trees seemed to close in, blocking out the moonlight. Her flashlight flickered. Then she heard it, a whisper, faint, almost indistinguishable. But there. She swung her flashlight around, but there was no one in sight. The whispering grew louder, but the words were impossible to understand, like they were being spoken from beneath the ground. "Who's there?" Claire called, her voice shaky. The only response was more whispers, closer now, and a rustling sound in the bushes ahead. Fear gripped her, but she told herself it was just animals, the wind, nothing supernatural. She took a few steps forward, but the ground beneath her foot gave way. Claire stumbled, falling into a shallow pit. The walls were slick with mud, and as she tried to climb out, her fingers touched something cold and solid. She glanced down and saw, to her horror, bones, human bones. Panicking, she scrambled out of the pit and turned to run, but the trees had shifted. The path she had taken was gone, replaced by a twisted labyrinth of gnarled roots and branches. The whispering was all around her now, louder, closer. She started running, heart pounding, branches slapping at her face. Her phone rang, startling her. She pulled it out. It was her mother. But when she answered, all she heard on the other end was the same eerie whispering. Claire's flashlight flickered once more and then went out completely. She was plunged into darkness. The whispers now turned into voices, distinct but garbled, like they were speaking through water. One voice stood out, clearer than the rest. "Why did you come here?" it hissed. Terrified, Claire tried to run again, but something caught her foot. She fell hard, her head hitting the ground. As she lay there, dazed, the mist thickened, and from the corner of her vision, she saw figures emerging from the trees, pale, translucent, their eyes dark pits, and their mouths moving in unison with the whispers. One by one, they closed in on her, their cold hands reaching out. Claire screamed, but her voice was swallowed by the night. The next morning, search parties went into the woods, but they found no sign of her. Only her phone, lying at the edge of the trees, still playing the sound of faint, distant whispers. From that day on, no one dared to enter the woods after dark. The legend had claimed another soul.